Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. Hey, I'm at Ecola State Park in Oregon and I have the DJI Air 3. There's a lighthouse offshore here. It's called the Tillamook Lighthouse. It's been shut down for a while, but we're going to take the Air 3. We're going to see if we can fly it out there. It's out there a ways. Let's see if we can get some shots with it with the Air 3. The Air 3's got the battery power to get out there. So I've seen some videos a few years old of people that flew out there with like their original Mavic Pro, etc. and they just barely had enough battery power. This guy will do it no problem. So let's quit messing around. Let's get this bird in the air. Hey, okay, so I'm all fired up and ready to go here. You can see the drone on the pad. We'll go through our safety check real quick. I've got the screen recorder started. Oops, I didn't mean to go into that menu. We're going to click on those three dots in the top right. You can see we're in bypass mode. Normal, optimal, return to home. I'm going to crank up the return to home just in case we get behind something and the drone needs to go up and over. So we're going to crank it up a little ways. And then it's not asking for any calibrations at all. So let's go ahead and launch here and we'll get ready to take off. We'll give it just a second here. Okay, let's do an auto takeoff on the app.
Takeoff.
And there's the drone. Let's see, we're going to shoot in 4K 60. Got that started. Let's turn the drone around and get a look at us. You can see where I'm standing there, and I've got my spotter with me, kind of hiding behind me there. Okie dokie, let's not waste any more battery power than we need to. Let's reverse it up now, reverse and up. And we're gonna head on out. And you can see where I'm standing here, grab some altitude. We're about 36 meters above our takeoff point. And you can see where we're at here. I'm gonna swing the drone around. So what you're looking at off in the distance there is Cannon Beach and Haystack Rock. And so we're gonna swing around real slowly here so you can get a look at all this. This is something else. We've got a beach down below us, but and there's some rocks down here. I'm trying to remember what they call those rocks. Bird rock, something like that. Looks like they got plenty of birds on them, don't they? We're not going to get too close to those. But where we're going, you're going to see in frame here in just a second. And it's not that, but out there in the distance is the lighthouse. So yeah, you can see it way off in the distance out there. Let's go full stick forward. In fact, let's throw it in sport mode. Let's get on out there. So we're heading that direction right now. Let me pick up the camera and kind of center it up a little bit here so you can see it all. So yeah, we'll be out there before you know it. Won't take too long. I'm going to shut up here for a little while and I'll catch you guys again when we get a little bit closer. Okie dokie, it's starting to come into view here. So yeah, you can see it there. And the drone is flying at about 21 meters per second. That's about 45 miles an hour. So it doesn't take long to get out there. But this is a little fascinating piece of history here. This lighthouse was commissioned in like 1878, and it took them like 500 days to build it. I had a bunch of notes, and of course I immediately left them in the room and didn't bring them with me. But let's just do. I'm going to go back into normal mode, and we're just going to do an orbit around this guy. And before we get too close, we might even go into telephoto mode here. But anyway, it was commissioned in 1878, and I think 1881 or so it came online. And right about that time, there was a shipwreck, and I had it in my notes, but I can't remember the name of the ship. So they got in a big hurry to get it online. The ship, I don't know, ran into some rocks or something close by. So they got in a big hurry to get it going. So I think it was like 1881 or so they got this guy going. And can you imagine what it was like to be a lighthouse keeper out there in 1881? Or yeah, that, I mean, that had to be crazy. So if you think about it, there was no way to communicate at all. They couldn't. He was just stuck out there at that lighthouse. He couldn't communicate with anybody. I'm sure it was just resupply ships were the only time that he got to talk to people or see people. Yeah, so it had to be something. They finally put up telephone lines. Gosh, it was like in the 1920s or something like that. And of course, they immediately, the telephone lines immediately got taken out by weather. And it has a nickname. They call it Terrible Tilly. And why do they call it Terrible Tilly? Because of the huge storms that would hit the lighthouse here. And there were times that it knocked out the lens, knocked out all the windows. So then they just concreted over the windows and they put little portholes. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on the screen here, but there's just they just put portholes in there because of the weather they would get. So let's kind of back away from the back side of it here. And you can see tons of birds, and you can see it's covered with bird droppings, etc. But man, I'm just trying to imagine what it would be like to be the lighthouse keeper. But believe it or not, it was in service until 1957, I believe. So there were lighthouse keepers out there that long. And of course, it sat empty for a long time, and then some real estate investors purchased it, so it's privately owned now. It's a privately owned island, and they I can't remember the word. That's not crematorium, but there's a word for where they where like a mausoleum where you can have your ashes taken, and that's what they turned it into. But then they took their license away or something. But there's about 30 urns out here on the Tillamook Lighthouse, Terrible Tilly as they called it. They said some of those storms literally took out like tons and tons of rocks from the side of the lighthouse and really battered it. So let's see, we're down to 64% battery. We are not going to tempt fate. Time to bring this guy back. So we're going to point it straight towards home. And this will be kind of a little better view coming home. Let's throw it in sport mode. Let's hit full throttle here. And let's bring this guy back. So again, I'll shut up for a little bit until we get this guy back closer to home base. But yeah, you can see the things, the rocks that we're coming up to, and of course those are mostly bird habitat, etc. We're not going to get anywhere near that stuff. We don't want to bother any wildlife. And let's just bring this guy home. Okay, we're getting close. I'm going to throw it back into normal mode here. Came to a stop there. Back into normal mode. I want that obstacle avoidance on, of course. That was a great flight. And see, look at, we're almost home, and we're at 47% battery. So yeah, it's amazing. When you talk about battery power with a drone, that's where these newer drones are really help. Again, we're at Ecola State Park here, so I want to kind of let's kind of move around here. I'll kind of fly sideways as we come home. That's Cannon Beach off in the distance there, and there's names for all these rocks, but I don't know there. But that big one off in the distance is Haystack Rock. I hope to get a video there pretty soon. But yeah, we've got enough battery power here that maybe I can show you more of the park here. So it is amazing. I'm going to grab some altitude just to make sure, but I'm going to drop the camera down a little bit so you can see the rocks and the beach down here. And people hike down to this beach. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but that's kind of a hidden little beach, and you know, people hike down there. So so you can see, and there's where we're located at. We just kind of walk down the hill a little ways, and you can see the parking lot. You can see the kind of the big part of the park here, and there's some overlooks. I'm going to be very, I don't want to fly over the top of anybody or anything like that. So let's just kind of move around to the side here and give you some looks. Dropping that camera down so you can see where we're at. There's kind of a viewpoint right there that people walk down to and look at over the ocean and follow these trails on up. Okay, let's bring this guy home. We're at 40% battery, so that battery power just clearly was not an issue for us. We'll bring it down here as we come back. Almost home. Okay. I'm just getting ready to land, but I don't want to bother you people. So yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. We'll just bring her on down. And I'm narrating. I'm doing a video, so that's if you hear me talking to myself, that's what you know. Yeah. Okie dokie. Time to bring this guy down. Bringing her down. Dropping that camera straight down so we can get right over the landing pad. And of course we have the drone shadow right over the pad, so I'm going to pull that left stick straight down and it'll go into landing mode here, and you'll see it pick up the camera. We're a little bit off the pad, but we're okay. Good enough. Hey, okie dokie. That was perfect. Yeah, so we were able to get out there. You know, not having done it before, I was concerned about battery power. Man, we had plenty of battery. It was just not even an issue with the Air 3, and we were able to get close enough that I didn't even use the telephoto lens on the drone. So we just shot that with the wide angle lens. But anyway, you saw a little bit of Ecola State Park here, and you got to see Terrible Tilly, the Tillamook Lighthouse. That had to be really something back in the day. But anyway, I guess that's about it. This is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Most of all, I so appreciate you taking the time to look at this video. And of course, we're going to see you on the next one. The DJI Air 3 and the Tillamook Lighthouse. See you later.